Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming. My name is Holly. I'm Marius' second daughter. We welcome you to a celebration of his life. We appreciate the village that is his family. Keep us here. I didn't have any particular words to say. I wanted to explain to you that this morning when I stood in my backyard and looked out on the lake and thought about what I would say about my father. First the ibis came, then the herons, blue, green, and tricolor, followed by the egrets, cattle egret, snowy egret, and the great egret. There were 30 or 40 birds. They were not pecking, they were still, and I knew it was him, and I wanted to share that with you. A male cardinal, red, flew from a bush and landed on the top of the fence. We know Marius, our father. In the 60s and 70s, he had long hair and a beard. He looked like Jesus. We were so lucky to have him all to ourselves for those decades. My sister Lori is the oldest daughter. I'm the second, and he had a second set of beautiful daughters, Kim and Alice. He was a naturalist. He was an analyst. He was a father and a grandfather. He was a friend. In the natural world, we see a beautiful man. Pretty much everyone who ever spoke with him was touched by his stillness, his gentleness. He was a man ahead of his time. In the 60s, he was doing Tai Chi when we stood in line at the movie theater. We were horrified. We welcome you all again as family and friends and loved ones to celebrate this remarkable man, our dad, Marius Robinson. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. And it's a celebration of life. There's so much chaos in the world, chaos in the country, and our own challenges in our life. And Marius Robinson was a very positive influence or force against that in his own way. As Holly was saying, that he was a soft-spoken man, humble, kind, loving, generous. Anybody who knew him couldn't find much fault with him. I don't think he had an enemy in the world. He acted this way as a father, a husband, a partner, a grandfather, friend, mentor, benefactor, in all many ways. My name is John Gardner. I'm Rosa Gardner's son, and my relationship with Marius really extends from my mother, who introduced him to me 17 years ago when she started a relationship with him that lasted till the end of their lives. My mom had been a widow for 13 years and brought men before, but they never measured up to my dad. And then my mom brings along Marius Robinson. I said, Marius? What's Marius? He's Marius. So I called him Marius for a while. Little did I know that they would develop into a really loving relationship, a very extensive social life. They went dancing all the time at the Polish club, the Elks Club, the Moose Lodge. I would joke around with him. There was not many people that laugh at my jokes as much as Marius did, so that's something else. But they were living proof that until your last day, you can enjoy life to the fullest, and you can find love. I always use them as an example when I meet people who are in other conditions, and I say, well, look at my mom. In their 70s and 80s, she met the man of her life. And it's interesting to say that because my father, not to dismiss him, was a great man and husband to my mother and my father. great father. But a few years ago, I went to Marius and took him aback a little bit. I said, Marius, you're the man of my mom's life. And he was kind of, like I said, taken aback by that. I said, well, you see, my mom and dad had to deal with the kids, and they had to deal with finances and all the other stuff and responsibilities, but you and she can enjoy life together. You don't have the burdens. I never saw them argue. I never saw him treat her any other way than a gentleman. He always came to barbecues wearing a jacket. Very well-dressed man, very refined man, very intelligent man. I like to think that at the end of the day, he made the world a much better place. Just one person can have an impact like that. If more people were like Marius, we would be a much better place. And the way we can continue that, because it's not in the past, it's in the present and future. It's in our hearts and how we comport ourselves, how we live ourselves, to honor him by trying to be a person like him, kind, generous, loving, and hopeful. And again, it's a celebration of his life, but it's even though I didn't speak to him every day like some of the people here, it was always great to know that he was there. You always knew you had somebody that you could talk to, that would have a positive approach to things and give you good advice. And now that's taken from us. So again, it's a celebration of life, but there's a loss, and it's a day to remember. So thank you very much, and you're all invited to speak if anyone wants to share their experiences and their feelings for today.
I just want to add one thing. John didn't share that when Dad first was brought home to Rosa's son, he slipped and said, "Nice to meet you, Dad." We want to invite you all to come up to the microphone and share stories so we can witness the many pieces of our Father stored with all of you. And to make room for all of us, we ask that you keep your talking to under 4 minutes. And we'll let you know when there's no more time to talk, because one of us will come up and close it down. Thank you.
I'm Danny Palucci, and I am Marius's stepson from his first marriage. And my mother's in California right now. She's 90. And I'm sad that she's not here to say goodbye to Marius. He was a major force in my life very early on. As a biologist and as a 4-year-old, he introduced me to the world of biology, which is where his degree was in. Although, his love, I think, was more in the financial world. He did very well there. But I think he took all of us into nature and into a spiritual realm also, which is really nice. It was one of the things that he did: body work, meditation, yoga, all those good things, health foods. So he led us as a family, and I was part of this family. So from my early days, my mother was only married 5-6 years, maybe not long enough. But here on Key Biscayne, it was a magical paradise. A lot of nature, butterflies. And as Holly said this morning, yes, the cardinal came to my house. Swear to God. And this time spent was very special. Even right now. So, thank you, Marius.
Melissa comes here, I just wanted to add that Marius said that he's going to be reincarnated into a
yellow-throated warbler.
yes, no, but yellow-throated warbler, but it's a male with a black mask over its eyes. So if you see, please Google that. If you see one flying around, hey Marius.
I'm Melissa White. I had the privilege of knowing Marius and becoming part of the extended family that I feel like all of us in the room are. Marius introduced me to Tai Chi. I know a lot about mitochondria now. I understand the inner world and outer world a little better because of Marius. He adopted our family and my kids, cared about them very much. He made sure that they received a National Geographic Kids magazine every month. And I thought it was fitting that when we lost Marius in the physical world, it was on February 22nd, 2022. That date has a lot of energy, and biblically it is known as a sign of angels, and Marius was an angel. And it's true that the world is not as bright, but I think he's still with us and still in us, and I can hear him talking, and when I have questions, kind of helps guide. So I hope that we continue doing Tai Chi for Marius, and that we continue telling stories, and thank you all.
Those of us here in the Tai Chi community that would like to join in just a couple of movements to send chi
Should we stand up?
to Marius.
Should we stand up?
Whatever you're comfortable at. This time, we're just gonna do what we do every Sunday morning. We go out from 8:30 to 9:30 on the village green by the sundial. And we stopped with all the chickens and programs, and now, in the summertime, it's too hot, we go inside and it's the community center. That's okay.
Just in general, also there are family and friends on Zoom, and they're seeing everything through that the video, and they're only hearing things from the microphone. So if there's something important, please include them.
Oh, okay. So we start out, there's 18 movements, it's called Shibashi movement. We do Liang Gong and Shibashi Tai Chi. And so we're going to do the first opening movement, and then we start out, and it's like a Chinese thing. There's 3 cardinal points in your forehead, above your abdomen, or in your heart, and above your abdomen. So we all do this together. You breathe in and then breathe out. And then this movement that we're going to do is called Unicorn Contemplates Moon. So we go through that.
Who is there?
Then we close. And the next one is called Cloud Hands. This is a lot of movements. We do this motion. And we'll just stay stationary, but sometimes you can move your feet. You know? It's called moving meditation, Tai Chi. And you go different areas, everybody does it different things. They do the day. Then we do, this is called Dove Extends Wings. This is the last one.
It's especially appropriate for Marius.
Yeah,
His
well, he
favorites.
has problems with balancing. So the ones where we aren't lifting one leg, we aren't standing on one leg. There's 3 bird exercises. This is an easier one. So we'll just put our foot out and like a dove, we extend our wings. And we do that 3 times to the left and 3 times to the right.
Isabel loved this.
And then we go up our right foot. And then we do like a closing. There's different closings, but Crystal, you want to do just the closing? You just
You want your wand? Thank you very much.
thank you. And it takes like an hour. We do that for like 20 minutes.
Marius really was encouraging us for the last 2 years for us to please take over leading the group, each of us taking a section. And he lived to see that we did, and that the Tai Chi in the park on Sunday morning will go on in his memory, in his honor. And we sent him Chi. Anyone can join the group, 8:30 Sunday morning. You don't have to know anything.
Hello, I'm Greg Han. I'm honored to say that I've known Marius for about 35 years, and he's my best friend. Gregory Han is my name. You know, what can you say about him? He's been part of our family. We've been part of his family for that time. Although I first met him when he came to my door. He had moved in down the street in the late '80s, and he wanted to volunteer he wanted to buy a ticket to a fundraising dance that the Kiwanis Club was putting on. How many people do you know volunteer to buy these tickets? Marius loved to dance, and that's when we met. Found that we had children about the same age. He lived about 4 houses down, and he's been in our family, and we've been in his family for that whole time. It's hard to keep up with him. He disappears from time to time. And before email, you know, nobody wrote letters, and he found out he was in New Zealand living with his family for a while, and then he'd reappear, and he bought a house a block away. And we continued with his family growing up. I have 2 boys. He has 2 girls. I grew up with Sierra and Alex. What else can I say? I knew his father. I had the honor to meet his father up in Woods Hole. We were both scientists, and I was an oceanographer, and I was at Woods Hole, and I met them in his house there in Woods Hole. And we stopped there several times on our various trips. And Dennis was very much like Marius, really a real gentleman. And he was a rather famous scientist involved with radar during World War II, which was a big part of Marius's early life. And Marius told stories about being on the south coast of England during the Battle of Britain and watching the pilots being shot down and parachuting into the sea. I always found that a very touching story. And nobody there to rescue them. They were essentially right in the middle of the Battle of Britain. And then his father came over to MIT with all of the British radar technology to help the Americans in their effort to develop radar. So we always had shared his scientific interests, so he was more interested in biology. I'm more of a physical oceanographer. But anyway, he's going to be missed. We have a men's group which has been going on for about 4 or 5 years, and he was a vital part of that. And we had a Zoom call a day or two before he died, and we were able to share with him. And anyway, we're going to miss him.
How's everybody doing? I'm Steve Miner, and Marius and I practiced Tai Chi for many, many years. And of all the people I've known, he embodied the holistic approach to life more than anyone else. And in that sense, I think his contribution, he and I had a lot of conversations about the metaphysical and philosophical, and he was really a man of peace. He was really affected as a small child by the bombing of London. And when 9/11 happened, he told me that it really affected his digestive system again. And I think Rosa remembers that. So what I wanted to say more than anything is that I would like to send Marius some really positive energy, because he's a spiritual being and he's on his journey now. So why don't we take just a minute or two and think of something really beautiful, positive, and just personally channel him some energy for his journey. Thank you.
I'm Nancy Ellisberg, and I certainly haven't known Marius as long as a lot of you. Meeting him in Tai Chi, and then having the luck of sometimes meeting him in a restaurant where we would both show up and then decide to share a meal. Those conversations with Marius that you got to have one-on-one were always a treasure. Everybody is special, but I think we all know that Marius was a real one of a kind. And if you had any opportunity to get to know him, to spend some time with him, you really understood that you needed to pay attention, you needed to listen, you needed to remember, and I think if each of us can carry on a little bit of all of the things that he did, that will be the real tribute to him.
Hi, Fred Kaplan. Greg Hahn made me think of an anecdote that I just remembered. Marius was telling me about his dad and I believe his uncle involved in the development of radar and how they came over to the United States to help American technicians deploy what they'd been inventing. And coincidentally, Key Biscayne story, my father-in-law lived on Harbor Drive, was a navigator in the Royal Canadian Air Force during the war, and the guy that lived across the street from him on Harbor Drive was one of those American technicians that went to, I think it was MIT, and learned how to fiddle with this gadget that sent the neighbor to the same base in Yorkshire where my father-in-law was stationed to install this stuff, which helped my father-in-law and his comrades. I was able to tell Marius that story, and it made him very happy. I think in addition to his other occupations and avocations, I always thought Marius was a magician because he could conjure up the best vibe.
Hi, I'm Daniela Gardner. Marius was a presence in basically all of my remembered life. I remember in 5th grade we had a field trip to the Key Biscayne Reserve Park to go dissect squids. It was my first time doing anything remotely sciencey. And I remember I brought him along as the sole chaperone of the trip, and it was amazing. I mean, I remember our noche. He came to every single Noche Buena with my abuela. He was the best dancer, of course. I mean, they're the best dancers of the family for sure. I remember in my school, in middle school, we had Grandparents' Day. And he and my abuela came to every single one. We would always wait in line for 30 minutes to take a group picture. And I'm proud to call him my grandfather. So thank you all very much for coming.
I'm Lori, his oldest. Proud to say his first daughter of the 4. And can we put that picture back up for a second, please? Because people tell me I look like his twin, which I think, I don't know how to take that, but his eyes are just shining upon all of us right now, and I was just staring at them and listening to these beautiful stories from all of you, and I just want to say thank you to all of you for coming and for celebrating this man who, my entire life, there were consistent words used about him, and some of them were used today. A gentleman, a gentle man, a humble man, a kind man, a loving man, a spiritual soul. There's so many. I've had to write a few notes down. A curious man, an accepting man, a generous, humble, respectful, someone who made the world a better place. And everybody, when they would say anything, would say, that man's brain, that man is the smartest man I've ever known. And it was true. He was so unique. He was so intelligent. He was always a seeker. He called himself a seeker. He was working on a book about religion for a while, and the first line was, I've always been a seeker. And I thought, Daddy, you've been a seeker of knowledge, you've been a seeker of spiritual awakening, you've been a seeker of self-improvement, you've been a seeker of understanding how the world works and how people work, and it's just, he never stopped. And he loved life. And he found solace, as you all know, in nature and especially with birds. And I think that if there's anything if you ever want to sort of touch my father's spirit, you might have your own way. But for me, whenever I see birds, I feel like he's probably flitting around with them, in some manner. And in his final days, he looked in our eyes several times and said, with a big smile, just like that one, everything is wonderful. It's all wonderful. So I want to leave you with that, where there's a bittersweet moment today, but it's all wonderful. And he would say that at this moment. And the passing was bittersweet, but he was ready, and it had some sacred beauty to it, just like his entire life and his being. So thank you all for coming and celebrating this wonderful thing.
Thank you, Lori. So we want to invite you all to a little light fare. There's food at the buffet table, drinks, and as we all get up and move, people will come in and move the chairs for us to the tables. Thank you all for celebrating Marius with us. We look forward to talking more.
Well, I got together with Marius about a month ago, and he let me do an interview. He was in really good shape and good spirits. I talked to him in his condo. And the opening of the interview that was published in the Islander was something like, Marius has achieved a lot of success in the world, financial success, and he started his own investment firm and several investment partnerships. But in all the conversations I had with him, I never heard him mention that part of his life even one time. He was more interested in talking about science or how to make the world a better place, and he was a really special friend. And I know a lot of people are going to miss him. And it's been a beautiful service. Thank you.
Yes, I just want to say thank you for this invitation and commemorating the life of Marius. We love him very much, and I'll always hold him in my heart forever. And your dad was very special. He's like my own father. So all the best, and I love you. Hopefully, we will always be united as a family.
The facts are that Marius reminded me of my father. And that's a compliment. Marius, a gentleman and a scholar, and anybody that has that in them and doesn't play that card, it's a natural thing, is someone that I respect. I respected my dad because he was like that, and Marius was the same way. A gentleman and a scholar that never tried to tell his story, very quiet about himself. And I'm going to miss him just like I miss my father. Thank you.
Well, we're here after the ceremony, and it's so nice to be together with Dashi, and I wish Bodhi was here as well, and Kimon and Patrick, and we were just talking about all the amazing times at Fish Eating Creek. It was such a fun, boisterous group with Nancy Brown and Richie and their sons as well, and those are probably some of the most precious memories of my life so far.
Yeah. So Marius always liked to have he liked to have people surround him. When he never wanted to go there alone. So he had his own family and my family and Nancy and Richie Brown's family. And so all the kids had a riot there, and everybody was in competition to poke the fire and do things. We cooked up a storm. We had so much food to eat and paddling around. So that was this went on for 20 years. Periodically, once or twice a year, we would go there. It was the best ever. And this was, of course, Marius as a nature lover, and he made it possible for all of us to experience that together. And he was always promoting me for my work with Qigong and Tai Chi, and such a dear friend. I want to tell you that when Patrick was born in 1975, we came to Key Biscayne and we did a christening on the beach of our own version, and Marius was there. So he's seen us all grow up, and we love him dearly, and we'll always remember him.
Thanks, Dashi.
He's a lovely man. I met him for a short time. I was working with him. He was a lovely man, and I have good memories for him. I always want to remember him.
Well, Marius was a very, very special person in our life. Besides practicing Tai Chi together, we used to have our healthy, organic dinners every Monday, and that was a true joy to share that also with him. We're going to miss you, Marius.